Hey everybody, Ben from the Bring Back the Salmon program here, and I'm just going to give you a short little instructional video on how to set up your classroom hatchery equipment. So first thing we want to think about is where we're going to put our classroom hatchery equipment. So we want a spot that is away from any exterior doors, any windows, or any types of heat sources. And that's just because we want to have efficiency of the unit. We don't want to have it being warmed up by sunlight or a heat source, and then the chiller is trying to cool our water down. We also want to have stability of temperature. So having it inside, away from those things, is an important consideration for where we're going to put it. Next, we want to have an outlet really close by. We don't want to be running extension cords that might be a tripping hazard, or also just this equipment should be plugged in close to where it's located. Then the next thing we have is a table, a good solid table. We're going to be putting at least 15 gallons of water in the tank onto this, plus the equipment. So 15 gallons of water weighs about 125 pounds. So I would say at the very, very minimum, your table should be able to hold 250 pounds. But then you also have to think about anything else that might be put on top of the table that might add to that weight. So you might want to be going up into 300, 350 pounds. So we've got a good solid table here. Now I'll show you what our equipment looks like. Okay, so we have a tank, of course, and we use a minimum size of 15 gallons. It can be larger, but a minimum size of 15 gallons. And typically we like to put it on a boot tray that is large enough for the tank to fit in. And that's just to catch any condensation that's gonna run off the glass, because the water inside that tank is gonna be cold. So there's gonna be condensation running down, and that's just gonna catch it. We have a small amount of gravel, and this is 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch angular gravel. And it's clean. We just rinse it with water. This is going to allow a spot for the little fish to hide in, but by not having too much gravel in here, your students are going to be able to see the fish when they come out of the incubating tray. And this is enough for them to be fine. They'll be safe in there, but it'll allow for that viewing opportunity. And it also makes it a lot easier to get the fish out when it comes to release time. It means that the fish aren't going to get all caught up in the rocks and potentially injured. And then we have insulation to go all around the tank and also on the top of the tank. And you'll see how that is set up when we put that on the tank at the end of this video. And we have a filter. Now there are many different types of filters. This one here is an aqua clear, and a lot of the hatcheries have this type. And it's just to filter the water, keep it clean. Some important things about this filter though, all of the filters, is that they can suck up the fish into the intake here. So we will put a piece of screening over top of the intake, and that's just gonna keep the fish from being able to get up into there. If you don't have this piece, we will have some with us when we deliver the eggs, so don't worry about that. We also bring the filter medium. Now there's different types of filter medium that comes with the different types of filter. With the aqua clear, we bring these parts, these 2 bags. We don't bring the sponge, so please don't throw that sponge out. Very important for you to hold on to this sponge. You can just rinse it out. Don't wash anything with your hatchery equipment with soap. Don't use soap on any part of it, but this can just be rinsed out and then let dry. And so that stays in it, and then we will bring these 2 parts. That's the filter. Next up is the air pump to add oxygen into the water, and that also includes a hose and a little stone, and that stone just helps diffuse the air into the water. And we have a thermometer, and now our chiller units do have a temperature adjustment on them, but however, it is important to be going off of a thermometer because the chillers are often not very accurate, so we use a thermometer inside the tank. Then we have our chiller, and we have different types of chillers in the program. This is a coil-type chiller. Most of you have a coil-type chiller. If you have an Arctica, we will make a separate video about how to set that one up. But this is a coil-type chiller. And it's pretty straightforward. Those coils go in the water and they chill the water. There is an adjustment on the front here, that's your temperature adjustment, as well as this side is the on-off switch. And then of course we have to plug everything in, and this particular power bar is a ground fault circuit interrupting power bar, and this is designed if it gets wet, and we do have equipment that has water in it, if this gets wet, it shuts off. So this is a safety piece that is quite important. So it's good if you have one of these types of power bars. And last but not least, we have an incubating tray, also known as the condo. It is 2 pieces that fit together. That's where we're gonna put the eggs. And this will sit inside the tank, actually goes that way, and your students are gonna be able to watch the eggs develop in this. So there's 2 sides of it, as well as some nuts and bolts to hold it together. And that's all of the equipment that we have for the hatchery. Now let's put it all together. Okay, so I'm gonna put the chiller in first. Now, you have a couple of options with the chiller. The chiller can go at the back, if you've got enough space, or it can go on either side. And you could put it on that side and have the knob very accessible to make adjustments. Or if you're afraid that your students might see a knob, turn a knob, then you might wanna put it on this side and have the knob on the back. And so that's what we're gonna do. Now, something about these chillers that's really important is this part here is where the coolant goes through, and we don't wanna be damaging that. We don't wanna lift it up by that, and we don't wanna be banging it around. So in this case, this is a good time to ask for help. So I'm gonna ask my assistant, Nikki, here to come on in, and that way I can lift the chiller up and she can squish those coils together so we can, as gently as we can, get that inside the tank. There we go. See, it's a bit of a tight fit, so it's good to have some help there. So for our filter, the filter can go on the opposite side of the chiller, or it can also go on the back. So in this case, I'm gonna put this one on the back. It'll just slide over like that. There's the filter, and then our air pump is just gonna, this part sits up out of the water, and then that hose comes in and lays down inside the tank. And then for our thermometer is going to stick to the glass. However, when there's not water in there, I don't like to stick that to the glass yet because it could fall off and then break. So I'm just going to leave the thermometer here until the water is in. I plug everything in now. I don't plug anything in until I'm ready to go. And we don't want to run this equipment dry, so nothing gets plugged in yet. And I'm not even going to plug in the power bar yet, but I'll plug everything into the power bar. And then once we've got water in the tank, we can fire everything up. Now we can put our insulation around the tank. The side's always a bit tight, but we can wedge that in there. And this insulation is going to, A, help to keep the water cool, just keep the temperature, keep the warmth out, I guess, as well as really important, what really it functions as it keeps it dark. And this, we want to keep in the natural environment. The eggs are in cold water streams, often under ice, often in shady conditions, so we keep them shady and dark. Now this is functional, but it doesn't look really nice, so you can decorate this however you'd like, and I encourage you to do so. The incubating tray we'll just leave here right at the side so it's ready to go when the eggs come. We don't have to go looking for it. It's ready to roll. Now, we haven't put any water in this yet, and that's because we're still a little ways away from egg delivery. So there's no point in filling this up and having the equipment run with nothing in it. So we will be putting water in it about, at least, I like to put it in like 5 days before the eggs are coming, and that's gonna give enough time for the temperature to come down to 4 degrees Celsius. That's what we wanna get this temperature to for egg delivery, as well as if you have chlorine in your water, then that's gonna give time for the chlorine to vape off. So now when we do put water in and we fire everything up, we're gonna be checking to make sure everything works. One thing to take note of is that your filter will not come on right away, and you're gonna have to prime that. And it's super simple. You just take a bit of water out of the tank with like a little Tupperware container and pour the water straight into the top, and that's gonna push air out, and that's gonna allow it to start drawing water, and it's gonna get a little waterfall going. Filling up your tank, you're gonna fill it up almost right up to the top. And that is going to evaporate slowly, and you will have to top it up throughout the course of the program, a little bit here and there. And that is how we set up classroom hatchery equipment with a coil-type chiller. Now, most of this equipment will operate problem-free. However, sometimes problems do come up, and it's really important to catch those problems quickly. So that's where you come in, and it's really important that you have your eyes on this equipment on a frequent basis, making sure that the filter is running, the air pump is running, and you've got your desired temperature, which for most of the time with your program is going to be 4 degrees until we tell you to start to increase that temperature following our instructions. One thing that does happen is sometimes you'll have a power outage, and sometimes the chiller needs to be reset, and that's just turning it off and turning it back on. And most likely, in the event of a power outage, you will have to reprime your pump. Okay, thanks for watching, and we look forward to working with you this year in the Classroom Hatchery program.